Hit the restart button. We're right there to recharge those batteries. We're here to help you. Restart, recharge. Restart, recharge.
Hi, thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Katie Ritter.
And I'm Justin Thomas, and we're tech coaches at Forward Edge Curriculum and Integration Team. And basically what we do is we're in the schools helping teachers learn a little bit more about education and educational technology. So every day is kind of different for each of us. We're in a number of different districts, about 20 different districts all across the Cincinnati region and even into Columbus as well. And we're expanding. I think we got one in northern Kentucky as well. So 2 states now, if you're counting. But basically, we are all from different backgrounds. I mean, we have people that have been in special education, people that have your English, your social studies, people that are primary teachers, people that were secondary teachers. We are all across the board, and there's 15 of us. And what's so nice about it is that we are in the schools working with teachers, but we also work really well with each other. So, you know, if there's something that I see with my school and I'm having a little bit of a difficulty trying to wrap my head around it, I know I got 14 other people that I can easily go and talk to and kind of get an idea of what's going on at their different schools. So that's one of the really neat things about our team at Forward Edge. And I know Katie being the director, I think you've handpicked us pretty well.
Well, thanks, Justin. No, no special interest there, right? Yeah, so we, everyone on the team, we're all former classroom educators who have turned technology integration coaches. And so we, our passion is really working with teachers and really trying to help make a difference and transform across the board on that classroom level to impact those students. And we've recently had growing passion, growing out of helping teachers and administrators in the schools that we serve, and really kind of shifting to help grow and develop and coach coaches. Some of that comes from, like Justin mentioned, all of our support with one another on our team. We understand the importance of coaches finding that support in other coaches. We also know that most coaches are off on an island all on their own. And so they don't have the fortune of having that network for support. So we've really been interested in helping to support and grow and develop other coaches. As part of that, we are really excited to be one of the very few global recommended coaching partners as a part of Google for Education certified coach program that launched this past summer of 2020. And so we are a recommended partner for that. And along those same lines, we also led a global webinar series all around coaching on behalf of Google for Education certified coach program. And so through that, we got an opportunity to meet and support about 600 different instructional coaches from about 56 different countries all around the world. So that was such an incredible experience for our team to get to participate in that way. Some of that content and those webinar recordings actually live in Google's coach curriculum now. So some of these things have just really kind of lit this spark under our team to again, just grow and support other coaches. So that is what this podcast is going to be all about, growing and supporting you on your journey as an instructional coach, in particular, an instructional technology coach. So with that, we're going to kind of kick it off and dive right in.
Yeah, diving right in. Look, first of all, I want to say it's crazy when you jumping on a Zoom at like 8 p.m. at night because you got to talk to people all across the world. Time zones are crazy. But what we want this episode to be about is trying to reach out to all of you on the role and benefits of a tech coach. So maybe you're a tech coach right now and you want to just make sure that you're on the right track. We're here for you to talk through some different strategies and ideas. Maybe you're someone that's considering becoming a tech coach. Maybe you want to know a little bit more about what kind of role this is within a school district. Maybe you're someone that's serving as a supplemental tech support, you know, kind of provide some tech aspects here and there. Maybe it's not your full role, but you know, you're the tech person that people want to go to.
And trying to do it while you're still teaching half time.
Yes. Sometimes you're kind of doing a whole lot of things on your plate, but you get it all done. And then also too, maybe you're an administrator and you just kind of want to understand, okay, what is the importance of a tech coach role? Maybe you're thinking about trying to move someone into that position and you want to maybe make a case for it, see what you need to have with this person and the importance of it, because it's a really important position that has started to become more and more involved through school districts, and especially in this day and age when things got really hectic last year. I think the position was just insurmountable how important it was for school districts.
Yeah, Justin, I feel like hectic's putting it nicely. Yeah, and I don't know about you, Justin, but I feel like when I would be introduced into a new district as their tech coach, and working with them, even for years at a time, serving, the same district as their tech coach, I can't tell you how many times I was consistently clarifying and re-clarifying my role. I can't tell you how many times I was confused with being break fix support and asked to come in to fix the smart board or the projector, or whatever was wrong with the computer. And I don't know how to do that. And so I was constantly clarifying that. I can't tell you how many times I was known as, the Google lady or the Schoology lady, or, just whatever lady that was not my title. I just happened to know things about those tools, and got pigeonholed, whether it was by teachers or administrators, into kind of this role because they didn't understand the role of a tech coach. So, and I know that our team spends a lot of time just talking about, especially when we have a new coach on the team, or when we are going into a brand new district. So they're getting a tech coach for the first time. We spend a lot of time talking about how do you clarify your role with those teachers and administrators to make sure that they're really utilizing you for what you should be utilized for. So with that kind of spirit in mind, that's where we wanted to kick off our very first episode of Restart Recharge, and just sort of defining the role of a tech coach to begin with. And kind of building on that same idea, if you say that you're a second grade teacher, let's say, pretty much everybody knows what you're doing, right? They might know every single one of your standards, but across the board, no matter where you're at, in the US, if you're a year 2 teacher, if you call it something different in another country, pretty much we know kind of the same basic skills that you're doing, right? I was a secondary person, so it's a little bit of a mystery to me what you do in second grade, but I still get it for the most part, right?
Yeah.
And let's say you're an algebra 1 teacher, or a high school math teacher. Again, I was not a math person, so again, it's still a little bit of a mystery, the ins and outs, but
Same here.
but in generally speaking, I mean, we still know what you're doing. We still know the concepts that are taught in the course, even if it varies a little bit from state to state, standard to standard, country to country. Still, generally, we know what you're doing. Same thing goes if you're a principal, right? We know the general things that are involved in that role, in a superintendent, right? We can say a title for so many roles within education. And one, we can go to a school's website and look it up and find who serves in that role based on the title. And generally speaking, the titles are fairly similar across the board for those roles. But the same cannot even be said for a tech coach. So not only are we a unique breed who is sort of trying to define what we do and how we do it, but we're also just trying to get people to understand who we are, by title, so to speak, right? And no matter where you go, I just remember I was really lucky to serve on ISTE's EdTech Coaches PLN leadership team for a lot of years. And being at the conference, there was so often when people would walk by our like PLN social hour and we'd say, "Hey, are you an EdTech coach?" And they'd be like, "What is that?" Kind of almost like a dog that tilts its head sort of and looks at you a little bit confused. And you'd say, "Do you help support teachers using technology?" Head would tilt right back up. "Yes. Oh my gosh, I need your support." Right. So our role falls under so many different shapes and forms and titles. And so just something a little bit fun. A few weeks ago, in preparation for this very first episode, I actually sent out a tweet, and we'll link the tweet in the show notes so you can see all of the responses. And here's what I said. I just said, calling all educators who support instructional use of technology. What is your title? Tech coach, ... Instructional tech specialist, TOSA, innovation coach, question mark. And within almost 24 hours, there were almost 200 responses to that tweet. And almost every single one of those 200 responses was a different response and a different title. So some of them are really funny. Some of them are going to kind of catch you off guard. So Justin and I are going to read just a few of these responses to you, just to give folks who are listening sort of a general idea of the varying titles that are out there for essentially serving the same or very similar roles. So to kick it off, and I would like to apologize ahead of time for any mispronounced names. Feel free to tag me on Twitter and correct me. I'd want to do your name justice. But Belen Carreria, I know I said that wrong and I'm sorry. At Belly, BELECARREIRA, that's her Twitter handle, from Argentina, says that she has no official title because it isn't recognized as an official position, but often called like an ed tech support position.
But I'm sure she's still as busy as ever.
Yeah.
Some other ones that we had Yvette, which is at Y. Seeley Jones. She said she is a digital learning lead for K through 12.
I like that. And Justin, I'm very impressed with your pronunciation skills. You did much better than me, so feel free to correct me. Go through. Then Anita Waters, who is at Dr. Anita Waters on Twitter. She is a professional and digital learning coordinator.
So you did really well with the pronunciation on Dr. Waters there.
Thank you.
Nicely
Yes, that
done.
one was a little easier for me.
Trisha Lewis at TA Lewis. She says that she is a technology integration professional or a tip. And she did add a winky face on there.
Yeah, love a good emoji.
Got all of the emojis.
Yeah, Tim Stevens at Atticus8 says he is a coordinator of digital pedagogy. I like that one.
Mm-hmm. Susan K.S. Grigsby, which is at SK Grigsby. She says she is a teacher librarian. I feel like there's a couple different media specialists or librarians that were kind of expanding into this role as well.
Yeah, I feel like that was one of the more, I wouldn't say there were a lot of common responses on this, but that like teacher librarian or something that included librarian was a pretty common response among all the tweets that they got. So then Emily Burke at tech_edu_Burke. She said, I'm focused on makerspace tech integration into all instructional areas and content. Her title is Makerspace Integration Technology Specialist, or a MITS, because we do love our acronyms in education.
Yes, we do. We got a tip. We got a MITS. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Michael Goto at SNDVL_AZ is the associate superintendent. So this sounds like this falls a little bit more under his realm as the associate superintendent of that school district.
Yeah, and there were a small handful of responses of like principals, associate superintendents, assistant principals, things like that kind of fell under more of that administrative title. Lots of people wearing lots of different hats that fell under that role. And then Heidi Samuelson, she is at Swamp Frog First, said that her title as a technology integration support person is 4th grade teacher.
Oh, okay. So we're adding that into the 4th grade teacher. Might not have known that was going to be in there. We talked about, you know what's going on with your 2nd grade teacher, but I don't know about a 4th grade teacher.
Yeah, she is the instructional tech support. And there were a handful of varying grade levels, but a handful of teachers who are having to, teach and serve this role at the same time.
Absolutely. So true. Bruce Umstead at Umstead is the director statewide engagement. That sounds pretty important. Statewide engagement here with some ed tech. That's really cool.
Yeah, I like it. And then my personal favorite, there were a couple of responses very similar to this, but my personal favorite was Chris Tarrant at Mr. T Teaching. And he said that his title is Chris, as in go see Chris about that. And Chris can sort that out with you. And then he added, sorry, I know that's not what you're looking for, but I am titleless. And actually, Chris, that is exactly what we're looking for, because that is so often the case, that you, and not that you need a title to do something or to lead. That's not what we're trying to express here. But so often people are, also teaching full-time fourth grade or part-time and having to serve this role, or, maybe you're getting a small stipend, maybe you're not, and you're just the guy or the gal who knows, is pretty known for being pretty tech savvy, and so people come to you. And that's kind of the point that we're trying to make, is that within all of these different titles, if I'm going to a school's website and I'm looking for their technology coach, is kind of what we're going to call that all-encompassing title, for our purpose here on this podcast. But if I'm going to look for someone, where do I even start with searching a person's title? Do I search for teacher? Do I search Chris? Do I search, superintendent? So where do we even start to find that support person? And kind of, we sort of just wanted to start with this and highlight, that as a field, some of these names are really cool, and, but the work that we're all doing is even cooler. And so we've really got to bring awareness to the role itself. And so that, so that all districts have access to this type of support position for educators, because it is just so crucial. And we're going to get into that a little bit more, and actually defining the role, what all of those titles actually do here in just a minute. We've got a quick 30-second break, so stick around and we will be right back after this message from our sponsor.
Looking for a program that reaches all teachers in learning new tools to integrate in their lessons? Edu Badges is the answer. Edu is an anytime, anywhere badging program that is designed to take bite-sized tools for instruction and teach teachers how to use them. Edu has received the ISTE Seal of Alignment for educator standards, and each badge in our expanding library is aligned to the ISTE standards and the SAMR model. Learn more about the program that teachers call addicting at forward-edge.net/edubadges.
Okay, welcome back. So thanks for sticking with us. If you're still here, we're going to dive into actually kind of defining the role of a tech coach. So, we've talked a lot about it's an important role. We've shared a lot of different titles that people have, but, really the kind of the meat and potatoes is, what the heck does this role of a tech coach do? And so a lot of times when I am meeting with a group of teachers who I might be coaching that semester or that year, particularly if they have never worked with a tech coach, I always start by sort of defining, who I am and how I'm there to support them. And my favorite way to do that is I'll usually start with a slide up on the screen, and it will have a number of different famous professionals on it. So athletes, actors, actresses, singers. So, it'll be like, Tom Brady, Kerry Washington, Adele, Tiger Woods, just these really well-known famous professionals. And I start, and in the middle of the slide, it just says, what do all of these people have in common? And I just take, open responses from them. And, teachers always share, they're all professionals, they're all famous, they're all rich, usually points out. They're all the best of the best. They're, top of their game. They're, really well known for what they do. And so I kind of let them go on. No one ever points out, though, and then I flip to the next slide and I say, yep, that's all true, but they also have a coach, right? And then coach is really big in the center. And then we just kind of talk through, and I acknowledge that, yes, everything that you all said is true about these people, yet, they are top of their game. They are famous. They are professionals. They are the best of the best. And yet they all still have a coach. and they still have that someone who works side by side with them to help them continuously get better at their craft. And a coach can help you see things that you can't see yourself in the moment when you are actually doing whatever it is that you're doing. And so that a coach is not to be looked at, that is deployed for someone who is, really bad at what they're doing. It's not just a strict improvement plan. And really coaches, not that you shouldn't use them to help support and grow people who are maybe struggling, but that's not just what they're for. And it shouldn't be a symbol of sort of a dismissal in a way out the door, if you will, if you're working with a coach. It should be seen as an awesome opportunity to have this extra set of hands continuing to work with you and help you grow and develop. And so I wanted to share really quickly just a little bit of research that I came across, and we'll link this article in the show notes as well too. But this craft article around, it was a meta-analysis around instructional coaching, and they examined 60 different causal studies related to instructional coaching and improved teacher effectiveness and student achievement as a result of the instructional coaching. And so across these 60 studies, every one of them had a different definition for coaching and exactly what the coaching program looked like and different models of coaching that were deployed. And so the sort of the through line and the identifying features that this article came to define a coach, I really liked it. And so kind of these 5 characteristics sort of define a coach. Based on this article. And that is that coaching is individualized, meaning that it's one-on-one time between the teacher and the coach. It's intensive, meaning that the coach meets with the teacher at minimum every couple of weeks. It is sustained, meaning it takes place, regular meetings over a duration of time, whether it's, a quarter, a semester, a year, an academic year. It is context specific, meaning it takes place in that teacher's classroom based on whatever their needs are. And it is focused, meaning that it is practicing a specific set of skills that the coach and teacher are working on together. So I thought that was sort of an awesome kind of culminating definition of a coach there.
Yeah, I think those are all excellent points on some of the things that a coach does with teachers on an everyday basis or, throughout the entire school year. So I think that really is a really good, awesome article that you've kind of found there, Katie, to really kind of embody what the coach does.
Thank you.
Obviously, ISTE is a huge part with educational technology, and they do have coaching standards as well for future-ready instructional coaches. They have a framework. We'll link that also into the show notes as well, so you'll be able to find it there. But ISTE does have these really cool coaching standards that are really nice to kind of check in, and they go way more in depth than just kind of the ones we're going to talk about. Each one has kind of levels that go underneath it, but just kind of give you an idea, get your mind kind of going on them. Some of the ISTE standards here are to be a change agent, to be a connected learner, a collaborator, a learning designer, professional learning facilitator, data-driven decision-making, and then digital citizenship advocate as well. So I think all of those are really important, especially in this day and age, on really helping not only just teachers, but even students and admin and everyone involved in the school district to become really good in all of those facets as well. The framework as well, you can highlight your instructional coaching supports for the broader district leadership team. These come in areas of curriculum, instruction, assessment, to personalized PD, to budget and resources, to the use of space and time and more. So this can really go across any sort of department that you have within the district. That is very important that you'll need to go along with that. Google's certified coach program. So Google has a certified coaching program as well. It goes along the lines with the instructional coaches that work one-on-one with educators to tackle classroom challenges with these technology-based strategies. So this is working with teachers to kind of find new ways to use different technology-based strategies and using this technology within it. But this should not be an evaluative role. This should not be something where teachers feel like they have to be evaluated on it. Teachers kind of, because, as a teacher, it's always interesting when you have the admin in the room, and it's not like you do anything different per se, but there's just the added eyes on you. You're being evaluated. And that's not what the role of the tech coach really, we want that to be. We want that to be a situation where teachers feel comfortable talking with us, letting us know some of the struggles they're having, but also some of the great ideas that they have, some of the cool strategies, some of the ideas that they have in their lessons, and really working with the tech coach kind of help maybe choose the right tool to use with those students. So this really expands the importance of that teacher and coach relationship, and it really helps to make that really awesome relationship with those teachers and with other people within the building as well, to really escalate educational technology in the classroom.
Yeah, and Justin, I love, you mentioned the ISTE coaching standards and Future Ready's instructional coaches framework, and I love using those. One, when I was a brand new coach starting out, they were in different iterations at that time, of course, but it really helped me kind of understand what my role was, right? And kind of helped get me out of, I'm not supposed to be also like fixing people's computers just because I'm trying to be really helpful and I do know a couple troubleshooting tips, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be helping with instruction, and I'm supposed to be able to not only help the individual classroom teacher, but I can really be utilized at the building level or district level for planning committees and planning purposes. So for me, it helped me kind of define what I should be doing. And then in the role that I serve now for our team, when I was writing a job description, once the team outgrew just me and I was ready to hire our first person, shout out to Michael. But I actually, to write that job description, I actually used those standards. So I think that I want to kind of circle back to that, what you mentioned, and re-point that out for anyone who's listening who maybe is not a current tech coach, and you're trying to advocate for developing the position within your district. Anyone who is an administrator who's listening and you sort of know you need to provide your teachers with support, but you don't really know what that looks like and what that person should look like to fill that role. Or just someone kind of newer and you're fumbling through because no one gave you PD on how to be a coach. They just said, hey, you're the techie teacher, do this now. So you don't really know what to do. Those standards are a really excellent way to help define the role of a coach, to guide the work that should be done by instructional coaches, particularly instructional tech coaches, and then also to help you craft up a job description and even try to hire people if you are in that position to do so. So I think those are for sure excellent roles that I would highly recommend. And then, Google Certified Coach curriculum, I think, is an excellent curriculum. There's not a lot of resources out there that teach a coach how to be a coach. Right? There's plenty of resources that teach us how to use this tech tool in the classroom that we then translate to our teachers. But there's not a ton of resources out there that say, hey, you coach, this is how you coach other educators, right? So that curriculum's a great place that if you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend checking that out. And then I can't just, iterate enough on what you said about, that a coaching role should not be evaluative. So more on relationship building, I'm sure, to come in another episode, but
Yes.
it will, if teachers feel threatened or evaluated and that they can't be vulnerable in any way, I say teachers, but really humans, who's going to want to open up, right? So that coach role I cannot stress that enough, should not be seen as an evaluator in the district as a rule of thumb. So
I'm really glad you elaborated a little bit more on that too. And I think that now that we have these ideas on kind of what we are as a coach, who we are, it's important to know, okay, well, I'm excited, I'm ready to get going here and coach somebody, but who am I going to coach, right? Who are the people that we help? And to be honest, yeah, put me in, coach, I'm ready to play, right? And the idea here is that really it could be anyone. It's not even just limited to teachers. It could be admin. It could be admin assistants. It can be anyone across the board, really. The best way that I really think to kind of explain this, and this is probably my social studies background coming in here, but I really feel that as a tech coach, you're an ambassador between the teachers and admin, between teachers and maybe the athletic director, just between kind of everyone in the building, because you are working with everyone and having conversations with everyone on a regular basis. And I think that's the thing that, you might be bouncing around, you might be talking to a teacher for one bell, and they might have something that has kind of come up, and you talk to another teacher and you're starting to see a pattern here. Maybe that's something you go and talk kind of with admin, say, hey, we're having a little bit of an issue with connectivity or something like that, and kind of work through. So then that really helps kind of make a problem that might be never relate back to admin. You're maybe helping kind of in that situation. So I think that's a really cool kind of position to be in. You participate in department meetings on PD
Justin,
days.
for you, but something you just said, sorry to cut you off, something you just said too, with your example made me think, not only are tech coaches serving as ambassadors and kind of that conduit between teachers and administration, but also between maybe even teachers, administration, and the technology department, right?
Yes.
So, your connectivity example, we know that sometimes, perception is reality, right? So the stats may show to the tech team that we're connected and connectivity is good, but if the perception back in the classrooms is that no, devices won't connect, it's really slow, things aren't running, that's kind of their reality. So a tech coach is a really great sort of mediator in between those situations to kind of help investigate, understand what's going on, and then work with all groups to sort of problem solve and move past whatever that is, even like you mentioned, even beyond just, the teachers and, the education, obviously that's happening in the teaching and learning in the classroom.
Oh yeah. And kind of continuing on with it, I mean, participating in department meetings, right? So that even helps with maybe the science department is having kind of an issue with something. They're trying to figure it out, work it through. And then you're in a meeting with the social studies department. They want to do something. You're like, oh, we just did this with the science department, and this worked really well for them. They got student engagement, things like that. So sitting on this department meetings really helps as well. Your PD days, maybe it's you're running the PD, right? You're coming up with something. So being that ambassador, talking with teachers, you kind of get a feel for what teachers really need and use, and that's important as well. Building in district leadership, team meetings too, to strategize on a larger scale. You're meeting with the admin at the building, but also within the district for big plans. Maybe you have a new school building that's being built or something along those lines, where you're kind of trying to help kind of paint that picture for what ed tech can look like with that. And I mentioned this before, but really you're working with all staff in the building. Just a couple stories for me this year. I've worked with the athletic director and getting some different video boards kind of programmed that he wanted throughout the gymnasium. So we were working on some different things with the Chrome bit and with kind of Google Slides and things like that. And even too with the nurse. I was working with a nurse on a situation where, we had to do the wellness checks coming in and what was the best way to do that. So we worked together and created a Google form where teachers could easily just fill out the form with getting a QR code. Walk in the door, boom, there's your QR code, sends you right to your Google form. You fill it out real quick and you're all set. So
I love that. I've never heard of a techie nurse.
All right. And she was excited about it.
She nurses, but that's awesome.
And she was like, I kind of had an idea how to do this, but I'm glad that we're kind of talking through it. One of those things where, she wanted to do something that was going to definitely save her a lot of time. And it worked out very well in that manner.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, the more that we can get like everyone within the school system to become more technology literate and more comfortable with these practices and these skills, I mean, the better it is for our teachers and really the point, our students, right? So that's awesome.
Yeah, and even something that I've talked with the athletic director about, and I can't take full credit on this because he actually worked at a different school where one of our colleagues, Tyler, was working. But Tyler helped him create a kind of facilities checkout list. So they had different facilities that basically, if you wanted to like rent it for practice or something like that, Tyler helped him create a sheet where you could type in that you wanted to reserve it, and then it would basically tick off on the calendar that it was not open anymore. So that's something on the horizon there. But really, it's not just focused on teaching students, as you've kind of seen. There's different stories all across the buildings, and I know all of our colleagues have different things where, you know, they've jumped in to help someone that isn't specifically a teacher. So you're definitely not always working about or having the mindset for teaching students, although that is a primary goal of helping coach teachers to use ed tech in their lessons. You might be kind of helping out in ed tech strategies all across the board for a district.
Yeah, and I would say that really, I mean, you know, and hammer on what you just said, like it is the primary goal. I mean, that is our primary audience
Mhm.
is the coach working with teachers. I would say that takes up maybe, you know, 75, 80 plus percent of what we're doing is working with the teachers, but then there's that other, you know, 25, 15, whatever percent
Mhm.
where it does allow you to attend department meetings, to attend building leadership team meetings, to attend district leadership team meetings and help with the visioning, to work with the admin or admin assistants to get things up and running, you know, every other support staff within the building. Counsel, I've done a lot of work with counselors before.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
So you know, to your point, Justin, yeah, I mean the educators are the primary audience and helping them use technology meaningfully and effectively in the classroom is really kind of the primary goal, but helping everyone else and everything from just kind of random pop-ins and talking with different people and different teachers or administrators to actually having formal coaching cycles, which we will dive way into in another episode, maybe
Oh
even a
yes.
series of episodes. The formal coaching cycles to leading professional development. But it's really, you know, coaching's also really a lot about culture change too, right? And that's
Yes.
kind of where that mindset comes in of working with all of these different people to help the culture of the building or the entire district support these innovative practices and just not even innovative in some cases, just modern practices in a way of functioning. And so through kind of that vein of like transforming the culture, focusing on lifelong learning, as a coach, you know, like Justin said, you could really support anyone and everyone within the district.
Yes.
You know, so it's a really kind of exciting role where I know for me, it's always been every day is a little bit different in what that looks like and who you're working with and what projects you get to dive into.
Oh yeah, and just kind of going with that too, just to mention, I mean, we've talked about our team of 15 members. We're in schools all across the region, and they're all different shapes and sizes. They're different. You know, you got rural school districts that we work with. We also work with some suburban school districts and urban school districts. We got schools that you know have maybe 700 students total, and then schools where maybe that's just one grade for the, you know, for the entire for like the ninth grade is the same size as the entire school district elsewhere that we work with. So they range in all different shapes and sizes and everything all across the board. So we kind of get these cool perspectives. We're working with different people inside different school districts and kind of seeing, though, when we come back together, some things do work across the board for all of these schools. So that's something that's really cool too.
Yeah. So you know, kind of we talked about the different titles and how we have to define who we even are within a district and what our role is, sort of, you
Hey,
know, what
Chris.
the yeah, what the role is, who the role can support in addition to classroom teachers. But then also, you know, the importance of the role of a tech coach. And I have really loved watching the transition, or what I at least in my opinion, what I perceive the transition to be over the past, I don't know, 8 years ish of the role of a tech coach, where you know, when I my first couple of years of being a tech coach, it was really seen as a more of like a luxury position within a district or an individual school. And it was like, yeah, great. If we can afford it, we'll put that support position in place. But if not, teachers are going to have to figure it out on their own. Right. So, and, you know, and I don't mean to like completely minimize the, you know, the stress that is involved in deciding budgetary decisions and staffing decisions within a school, but it really wasn't something that was seen as like a crucial piece of this education puzzle that I feel like really over the past 3 or 4 years is when I noticed a pretty heavy shift. And districts were really starting to realize that in order to be successful, we've just spent millions of dollars on our infrastructure upgrades, on going one-to-one and putting devices in classrooms and students and teachers' hands, and really making these things available. And then, oh shoot, we forgot about the training piece. And then, oh shoot, we realized that a few days of professional development around using these tools really isn't enough to sustain change and implementation into the classroom. And the natural response to that was instructional technology coaches, right? So I've definitely seen that shift. I feel like coaching is really seen in a lot more districts now, again, not as a luxury position, but more of a crucial piece of the puzzle to making sure that we are teaching our kids in relevant modern ways and giving them opportunities to engage in practice skills that they're going to need to have through use of technology. And so that's been awesome to see. It's not an across the board thing though. And so there, you know, with the digital use divide, that being now that by no means is it perfect, but with the digital divide, a handful of years back, that was that whole idea of, you know, kids don't have the same level of access, whether it be an actual device or reliable internet at home. And by no means is that problem solved. And I think maybe we thought it was more solved than it was until COVID happened. So that I think has even re-brought to light just the digital divide as is. So I don't mean to say that that problem is solved, but with E-rate, other programs, and funding, that problem is minimizing, right? And now the problem is that even students who could live next door with the same level of access or lack of access, and go to the same school in the same grade level, if they have two different teachers, one only uses technology for really passive use, consumption of material, and then the other teacher is giving kids an opportunity to solve problems that don't have solutions yet. They're creating materials, they're engaging in hands-on experiences, they're producing videos, they're publishing content, they're engaging with experts, they're, blogging and sharing their, what they're learning with the world. And they're getting these really awesome opportunities that, technology is supposed to provide. Those two kids, all other things are created equal except the two teachers that they were given. And they are getting completely different education experiences. And so that is the digital use divide. And that is, in my opinion, why having a technology coach and someone to support your teachers is absolutely critical because, it was already a problem before COVID, and, COVID and school closures just exacerbated that digital use divide and that need for teachers to receive that training. And, not to go like down a soapbox here, but I don't fault the teachers. They have so much on their plate that they are responsible for, that they need someone to help them dig through the hundreds of thousands of tech tools and websites and things that are available to change their instruction. So to me, that's sort of all of these things that a tech coach can do, from working individually with a teacher to use a particular tool, to more like problem focused strategies and exploring technology to support solving that problem, to working at the district level to help with the vision of technology integration. That is why having access to that support is just so important for educators today.
Yeah, and that's something too, just to kind of go along with that. Sometimes I see that kind of as a role where teachers have so much, they might have they want to use a certain ed tech tool, but they don't know where to start. And kind of what I kind of joke with teachers about is, I'll take a look at it, see kind of what's going on, and then I'll kind of bring you what are some kind of the highlights for it, how I think you can really use this in your class. So I'm kind of like the explorer in a sense, because they don't necessarily have time to try to go exploring on this tool when they have their students and they're trying to make sure, they're up to date on what they need to do for reading and things like that. So I'll take the time to kind of explore the tool and really pick out what I think will work best for them and then go back and talk with them. And then that's another reason why the relationship that you build with these teachers is so important, because, you kind of get an idea of kind of how their teaching style is. So you can really help kind of fine tune their skills by doing that as well.
Yeah. So Justin, I don't know if we've like really defined the role here. I feel like it's so difficult to define because it does look so different. Even the same coach in the same district. I think a lot of our coaches who have been with their districts for years would say that, this year has been really different and they've been doing really different things, right? Just like every other educator or human in the world. But so it's definitely difficult to define. I don't know. I almost want to throw out a challenge to our listeners. And I would love to hear, like, what are your definitions of a tech coach? And if you can fit it in a tweet, bonus points, right? So define a tech coach in a tweet. Tag us at RRCoachCast so we can see it. But I would love to see what you have to say. But to me, I think in short, it is a dedicated position and support personnel that is focused on helping support educators with effective use of technology, primarily for teaching and learning, but really, again, across the board to just change the culture and move the whole system forward. And we do that through building relationships. We do that through a number of ways, whether it's, formal PD structures or informal meetings. But our whole goal is focused on really just really kind of innovating and bringing everybody up to speed in 2021.
I think you did a very nice job summing that up.
Yeah, I don't know about that. It wouldn't fit in a tweet, that's for sure.
Well, that's true. That would not fit in a tweet. We need more characters to be allowed. Come on, Twitter.
Yeah, I know. I was so happy when they upped it, but maybe again.
It's not enough anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know. I think that might be it. So guys, thanks so much for listening to our first episode. So be sure to subscribe to Restart Recharge Podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at RRCoachCast.
Also, feel free to reach out to us. We want to communicate with you guys, right? And let us know if there's any topics you want us to discuss. We got kind of an idea of some things that we might want to talk about, but maybe there's something that everyone funnels our way and we're like, oh, this is big time right now. Let's get down to it. So make sure you reach out to us on either Twitter or Instagram with your thoughts on different topics for the upcoming episodes.
For sure. So press the restart button.
Recharge your coaching batteries and leave feeling equipped and inspired to coach fearlessly with the Restart Recharge Podcast.
A Tech Coach Collective. Woo! Okay. We got the first one in the books.
First one in the books. I think that went pretty well.